So during the year and analysis, we registered 94 national NGOs. No, we registered a total of 481 NGOs, and these comprised of 94 national NGOs and 387 international NGOs. I hope I got that correct. And in terms of the report, I mentioned earlier that we normally have the mandate of analyzing the annual reports that you submit to us every year as a compliance issue. And out of these reports, we normally analyze the annual return form. We call it Form 14, which is the form that NGOs use to submit our reports. We also administered a questionnaire to capture some information around the role and the impact of the NGOs during that financial year. And then, of course, we also analyzed the audited accounts submitted by NGOs. Our research team also does quite a lot of back and forth in terms of verifying the data that you give to us through the annual reports. And then, of course, we also seek out information from the registration form, which we call Form 3, the form that you fill when you're registering as an NGO. So having said that, I already mentioned about the registration, and probably in summary, in terms of the annual registration summary, I'd indicated that the board registered a total of 481 NGOs in the financial year 2022-2023, and these included 3 national and 94 international NGOs. If you look at the slide that is showing us the trend of registrations over the years, we've had some sporadic trends of registration for the past 10 years, but clearly we can see that we are moving on an upward trajectory in terms of registration. In terms of cumulative registrations of the NGOs that we have registered up to the end of the financial year, 2022-2023, the board has registered a total of 12,643 NGOs since we came into being as the NGOs Coordination Board. In terms of the growth in the sector with respect to funding, the fund receipts trends also show quite an impressive trend. During the year, we had 2,829 NGOs that filed their annual reports with us. And these NGOs reported to have received a total of 196 billion. This translates to a growth of 11.4% from 175.5 billion, which was reported last year. However, it is critical to note that despite the increase in funding between the 2 years, that is this financial year that we are reporting on and last financial year, the sector has continued to record a fluctuating trend over the past decade. So the positive trend has not been consistent. We've had periods where the funding to the sector has fluctuated. In terms of sources of the funds received, the main sources of funds were affiliates of NGOs at 28.8%, followed by foreign government agencies and NGOs, CBOs, foundations and trusts at 26.6% and 24.8%. In terms of the funds received, or the trend of funds received by continent, we had the majority of the funds coming from North America at 45.2%, and then we had Europe contributing 30.6%, while Africa accounted for 21.7% of the funds that were received by the NGOs that submitted their reports to us. In terms of a comparative analysis of the funds received per jurisdiction, you can actually see that The trend indicates continued sector dependency on foreign funding, which raises critical concerns around the issue of sustainability, as well as also taking into consideration that internal sources of funds remain largely untapped. However, it is not all gloom. We see a silver lining, as we see that there has been a rise of fundraising within the country, which increased by 33%. That is 8.48 billion, which offers a glimpse of potential resilience. So that is a challenge to us as a sector to look for ways of tapping into funding that is available within the country. In terms of funds utilization, during the year and review, a total of 197.9 billion was spent, and this represents an increase of 7% compared to the previous year's expenditure, which was 185.5 billion. Out of the 197.9 billion, 124 billion went to projects, while 73 billion went to administration costs, and 49.1 billion went to personnel emoluments. In terms again of a demonstration of the funds utilization, we actually are happy as an authority because we see NGOs continue to demonstrate a commitment to the best practice of 70 to 30 with respect to allocation to project implementation and administration expense respectively. And we make a note that there has been quite a big improvement because then 63% of the total funds that were received were actually expended on projects. So we are on the way towards achieving that best practice of 70 to 30. And we would want to appreciate the sector in terms of making that progress. In terms of funds utilization, our report of course captures the top 50 international NGOs and top 50 national NGOs, and also captures funds utilization per sector. But here I will just present on funds utilization the top 10 sectors, and you can actually see the key sectors that are taking lead, with health at position 1 with a proportion of 33.4%, followed by children, relief and disaster management, and then the multi-sectoral sector, education, environment, water and sanitation, agriculture, youth, and governance. So you can actually see that the NGO sector, as I said earlier, is represented across all sectors and is actually making key contributions to key areas of the economy. In terms of the top 10 national NGOs with respect to utilization of funds, we also have highlighted there the top 10 organizations. We have Center for International Health, Education and Biosecurity Kenya. We have Liverpool BCT Health. We have Rural Agency for Community Development and Assistance, RASIDA. We have Agency for Technical Cooperation and Development, Kenya, that is ACTED Kenya. We have Center for Health Solutions, Kenya. We have Population Services, Kenya, followed by Hope Worldwide, Kenya, Mkomani Clinic Society, based in Mombasa. We have Sight Savers International, that is Royal Commonwealth Society for the Blind, and we have Bible Translation and Literacy. Once we share the annual sector report, you'll be able to see the rest of the NGOs, the top 50. That is a list of the national NGOs. In terms of top 10 international NGOs, we have World Vision taking the lead at number 1. We have AMREF at number 2. Yes, thank you for that. A clap for World Vision. AMREF number 2, Compassion International, who is also one of our key partners for the NGOs Week. We have Give Directly Kenya. We have Worldwide Fund for Nature Kenya. We have Oxfam GB. We have Save the Children International Kenya, Catholic Relief Services, David Sheldrick Wildlife Trust, and Mercy Corps, who is also one of our key partners for the NGOs Week. A clap for those NGOs. Thank you for that. In terms of employment creation, the NGO sector is a big employer in this country, and what we can see on the screen actually demonstrates that. In terms of salaried employees, to start off, the sector during the year reported employment opportunities for 79,350 individuals. And this is a slight increase from last year, where we had 71,096 staff employed by the NGO sector. So we can actually see that there's an increase of 11.6% in terms of employment creation between the last financial year and this financial year. Majority of these employees are actually Kenyans or stationed in Kenya, around 93.6%, while we have a small percentage of 6.4% who work outside the country. When we look at the analysis of the employment structure, it is evident that the NGO sector has a very diverse workforce. When we look at the salaried employees, 52%, that is 41,128, also served as volunteers, and then we had 48% who also served as interns within the country. The salaried category, we had 36,037 who are based in Kenya, and we had 5,091 that were stationed in other countries. As I had also mentioned, the sector also employs expatriates, and the report for this financial year, we had 6,349 expatriates with 4,977 working in Kenya, operating in Kenya, and 1,372 in other countries. I think we can give another round of applause in terms of that. We also did an analysis of the contribution of the sector to the bottom-up economic transformation agenda, which captures the current national development priorities. And as we all know, the better is structured around 5 pillars. We have agricultural transformation, we have micro, small, and medium enterprise economy, we have healthcare, we have housing and settlement, we have the digital superhighway and creative industries. And these pillars have had also a substantial impact and linkages to both the overall economy and livelihoods of Kenyans. And we really appreciate, because then by the NGO sector also focusing on the national priorities, then the sector demonstrates that it is a very critical partner in terms of complementing what government is doing and in terms of contributing to the attainment of the priorities that we have set for ourselves as a country. So during the year under review, there was a contribution under the universal health coverage, which was at 36.56 billion. Agriculture was at 5.02 billion. Digital superhighway and creative industry, 3.22 billion. Microfinance, 869 million. Housing and settlement, 119 million. Can we give ourselves a clap for a job well done? I now move to the highlights around sector sustainability. This is also, I'd mentioned earlier, the challenge that the sector faces in terms of sustainability, more so because of the dependency on foreign funding. So we also analyzed the sustainability, and we normally adopt the USAID Sector CSO Sustainability Index methodology. This methodology is based on 3 interrelated dimensions, that is organizational capacity, financial viability, and collaboration and networking, with various indicators for each dimension. So when we did our analysis, our finding was that the overall sector sustainability index is at 45%, which implies that the sector is still at the evolving stage, and which is also consistent with the previous years. However, we observe that the overall sustainability index decreased from 53% in the year 2021-2022. So that is a challenge to us also as a sector in terms of us reflecting and exploring on ways in which we can improve on our sustainability. And as I mentioned earlier, I think the challenge is on us in terms of looking for ways of tapping into local resources, which largely remain untapped. And the continued partnership between NGOs, government and the private sector is a testament that we have immense local resources. That is a sector we can tap in and be able to be more sustainable and create more impact into the country. So as I finish, I just want to remind us of some of the conclusions and based on what I've shared in terms of a summary. So when we look at the sector, we have observed a robust growth trajectory as indicated with the registration. We did indicate that we had 481 new NGOs that registered in this financial year under review, and I'd also mentioned that we have a cumulative total of 12,643 NGOs in our database or in our register of NGOs. This underscores the sector's dynamism and continued expansion. And it is actually a demonstration of growth, because then the more NGOs we have, then the more impact that we achieve in terms of achieving the social economic transformation that we are seeking for in sustainable development. Also, another thing to celebrate is that the fact that there was no NGO that was deregistered during that financial year is also another positive indicator, and which suggests then there is steadfast commitment within the sector in terms of ensuring that we are following the regulatory standards, we are compliant with the regulatory framework, and we are basically contributing to the sector's overall stability. Let us give ourselves a clap for that as well. The continuous growth, as evidenced by the increase in total funds received, which I had highlighted was 196 billion. Was actually an increase from the previous year, where then it was reported that then money received was 175.9 billion. I also indicated that most of the funds, or 63% of the funds, were actually expended on projects. But it is also notable that most of the funds received by the NGOs was spent in implementing projects in health, children, relief and disaster management at 33%, 11%, 10% respectively. And I'd also mentioned that 77% of the total funds received showcases the sector's dedication to addressing local needs and contributing significantly to the national development agenda. This was in relation to the contribution of the sector to the bottom-up economic transformation agenda. However, I also mentioned that internal funding sources might be our sure bet in terms of ensuring long-term sustainability, because as we have seen with changing donor trends, the dependence on foreign contributions might really be a concern for us as a sector. So I want to reiterate the challenge again. Let us tap into the resources that are available within the country, because these will be a sure bet. Let us also tap into the local agency, and the local agency is demonstrated every day in this country, and Kenyans always rally around. So I'm sure we can tap into that synergy and ensure that then the sector is sustainable and continues making impact in terms of accelerating development of our country. As I also highlighted, we had 2,821 NGOs which filed returns And these returns are the basis of the report that I'm sharing the highlights about. Again, I want to throw a challenge. If we remember the numbers that I quoted in terms of the registrations, our register has over 12,000 NGOs. So for us to have 2,829 NGOs submitting their annual returns, it leaves a lot to be desired in terms of compliance. So I hope as we move to the new regulatory regime, we will take the challenge and up our numbers in terms of compliance, because then that's the only way we can be able to demonstrate our transparency, our accountability, and also that's the only way we can be able to demonstrate our commitment to contributing to the development of Kenya. As I highlighted, the sector employed a total of 79,350 people, which again, I want to reiterate, signifies a commitment to fostering economic opportunities and enhancing livelihoods. Again, in terms of collaboration, we observed a high level of collaboration and networking amongst NGOs, with 85% of NGOs actively reporting that they are engaging in vibrant networks, in vibrant collaboration, which again enhances the sector's overall effectiveness. As we say, there is power in collaboration and partnerships, because when we work together, then we are able to build synergy and we are able to achieve much more impact. We know NGOs also, apart from contributing directly through the projects, there is also quite a lot of collaboration and partnership with the national government and the county governments. A key point for us as the authority, we have been implementing a project on the implementation would want to encourage that, because in the spirit of building synergy, we can only achieve our goals, our development goals, by working together. So in terms of recommendations, I will just highlight them. One, we've talked a lot about sustainability. So one of the recommendations that the report is making is diversification of funding sources. And as I highlighted earlier, the sector should make efforts to tap into local funding opportunities and engage with domestic stakeholders. Enhanced collaboration, we've already noted that the sector is highly working in partnership models and collaborating with each other. And we do feel that this has also enhanced the impact of NGO initiatives. So this should be strengthened. In terms of partnerships, also related to sustainability and local fundraising, I think it's also a high time. I know we have a few NGOs that are working with the private sector and would want to encourage more of this. Let us tap into the private sector and the resources that are available from the private sector in terms of building partnership with the sector. And also, let us focus more on self-generated income. We are happy that with the new regulatory framework, the PBO Act, it provides room for us to actually engage in income generation for the sustenance and the push of our objectives as NGOs, as we also then continue with our other fundraising initiatives. I also want to reiterate on the issue of transparency and accountability. And on this note, as a regulator, would want to call upon the sector to really up the game in terms of compliance. And I do hope, as I said earlier, as we move to the new regulatory framework, then we'll be able to demonstrate that the sector is really a transparent sector, an accountable sector, and a compliant sector. Of course, in terms of capacity building, we need to ensure that there's continuous learning, which is really vital for growth and effectiveness. And at this point, I would want to mention that the authority has an organ that undertakes capacity building. We call it the Institute of Charity Management, the ICM. I know many of us in this room have participated in our trainings. And as an authority, we will continue with those trainings, which seek to really strengthen and build the capacity of NGOs, particularly with respect to compliance, with respect to issues around resource mobilization, to issues of partnership and collaboration. So let's continue learning. Learning is a continuous process because it's the only way we can also continue ensuring the growth that we are experiencing and the effectiveness that we are seeing in the sector. Lastly, but not least, I would want to say that we need to continue strengthening ties and working in collaboration with both the national government and the county government, because only then can we be able to foster a cohesive approach to addressing the challenges that affect our country and our people. With those many remarks, I want to say once again, karibuni to the NGOs Week. We have activities running for the entire week, and I'm sure behind your programs, we have highlighted the entire program for the week. Feel welcome. Tomorrow we have another physical meeting here that is focusing on accountability, transparency, and integrity of the sector, hosted by World Vision, and I wish to welcome all of you to join us tomorrow. With those many remarks, thank you very much for listening to me.
Highlights from the annual NGO sector report. I'd like to appreciate yourself. These numbers are your contributions. You will not be here if the contribution of the work that you do is not measurable, and we know numbers don't lie. So whatever we've seen here is a contribution that you get to bring to the sector and also at large in contributing towards the economy of this country. So at this juncture, I would like to remind us that we are live on KTN News. We are also live on the Facebook page of the Principal Secretary for Internal Security and National Administration, Dr. Raymond Omolo, and we are also live on the PBO Regulatory Authority Facebook page and YouTube page. At this time, I would like to welcome our stakeholders to give their remarks, and I would like us to start with the National Director, World Vision, Mr. Gilbert Kamanga. Welcome, sir.
Good morning. Is it morning or is it afternoon? Or is it morning? I'm okay. Good morning. Thank you. Thank you, Caroline, for that wonderful presentation of the report. PS Administrative for Internal Security, my brother, Mr. Abonga, Board Chair for the regulatory PBORA, in short form, PBORA, other government officials who are here. I also want to recognize members of the diplomatic corps who are here. I want to also recognize the UN agencies who are here and different donors. I also want to recognize our Director General for PBORA, Mr. Nkanata. I want to recognize the private sector who are here, the media, our religious leaders who are here. I want to say, recognize you as well, and ourselves, the PBOs, as we are called this time round. This is our week. So I want to recognize each one of us in all capacities who are here, because the NGO week is our week. I feel you to clap hands for yourself. But also I want to recognize the different committee members who are also gathered here, whom we work with in different capacities, but also those who are not here, whom we stand for. I want to recognize them as well. And also, I want to say all protocols observed for those whom we have not mentioned, so deliberate, but we all recognize your presence this morning. It is an honor for me to join together today on this beautiful day, commencing our NGO week, just a few days past on the Day of the African Child, where the children are saying that in Kenya they want education, but they want it now. Because education cannot wait. Other things can wait, but education cannot wait for many people. So for me, it's an honor to be here. For the few minutes I have, I just want to amplify our theme for this week. That of building synergy for a sustainable future. World Vision, just like many other organizations, there's some who have been here longer than who have been in Kenya, but we're celebrating 50 years here in Kenya. And what happened like that? It requires commitment. It requires sacrifice. Our knowledge over these years has taught us that synergy is not just working together. It is having the ability to generate something bigger than the participating parts. And others would say that it means 1 + 1 is equal to more than 2. Because if it is just 2, then you are just working together, you're not generating synergy. So for us at World Vision, which I think many of people here, we are in a journey to ensure that we achieve synergy. And what a fantastic theme for this week. To look at how do we together come up with something bigger than ourselves. To do this, ladies and gentlemen, requires us to be deliberate. Deliberate to move beyond our comfort zone, beyond our own appreciation of our own internal capacities, but by identifying those whom are not like us. So together we should achieve what is bigger before us. One member whom I interacted with, one of the governors actually, said poverty brings its friends. So as the PBO members, we are fighting poverty, which does not just come along. It brings its own friends. And therefore, it requires us to work together. This means, therefore, we need to prioritize what the community wants to be done. It requires us to prioritize the working together. If I want to amplify, one of the things I've seen from the report is what World Vision stands for, is that of accountability and stewardship of our resources. Bwana Chair, but also Bwana Administrative Secretary of the DG, we celebrate the enacting of our PBO Act, and we're looking forward that things will be better, even much better for the civil society organization in Kenya. But at the same time, we commit that we will also be accountable, because the element of self-regulating requires us to be accountable, so that we do not just hold the government accountable, but we are also accountable ourselves, but also accountable to those whom we serve. And that's why tomorrow we want together to come and reflect together. What does it mean to be accountable? What can we do together in Kenya to make sure that we are accountable? In the last 3 years, World Vision has spent over 34 billion shillings in this country in different sectors of our work, all of the sectors which the report articulates. But we see that poverty still fights hard. And that's why we need to work together. As I conclude for now, I want to say that just providing clean water now is not enough for our children. It needs to be sustainable. I mean, any other, and that's why synergy for some of future become very critical. Just having a child in school today is not enough. Would generations to come have access to same education? So let us work together so that children in this country are protected, that they become better citizens. I alluded not long so ago that today most children are not in school, not just because the parents cannot afford, but it's because there's not good parenting. How can we work together to ensure that every parent becomes interested in the education of the child? So when we're sitting in for our Cabinet Secretary, I want to pass on the message that we appreciate what the government of Kenya, both the national and the county governments, are doing with us together. Our desire is that there shall be increased space of activity for the civil society to act, but also that they shall benefit from the new law which has been enacted, and that together we shall invest in the future for our children. Thank you so much, and may God bless us all.
Powerful remarks there by the National Director, World Vision, Mr. Gilbert Kamanga. Thank you very much. I would like to remind us, those who are joining us, we are live on KTN News. The hashtag for the day is #NGOs Week. And at this point, I would like to invite Mr. Joseph Hamisi, who is the General Counsel for SHOFCO. Welcome.
Thank you very much. Our chief guest, the chair of the BPO Regulatory Authority, the Director General of the Authority, and the entire board of the Authority. It is really an honor to be here with you on this special occasion, which is the launch of the 2022-2023 NGO Sector Report and the NGOs Week of 2024. Allow me please to look at the theme in two ways. There are two keywords that I take from the theme of this NGOs Week. Number one, synergy. And my colleague from World Vision has just talked about that. We all need to do more in partnership at all levels, government, national and county, civil society actors, NGOs and individuals to bring better development to our country. And also a sustainable future that to me speaks to sustainable development that can continue and not just be there with us for a short while. In the short time that I have, I understand that we need to keep the program going. I would just like to highlight a few things that to touch on sustainability and synergy. Very quickly, what is SHOFCO? Shining Hope for Communities is an NGO which is celebrating its 20th year of existence this year. My colleague has done 50 years, but we are doing 20, and we are very proud of that. All of this, all the development that we have seen over the last 20 years has not been done by Shoko on its own, but by the communities that we work with, the partners that we have, and the synergy that we are talking about. So as a leading community-based organization, we do mobilize communities to bring results. And what does that mean? Let me look at some of our core themes very quickly. Localization. We want to bring everything down to local leaders and local communities so that they are empowered to drive their agenda, their development needs, as unique as they are, wherever they are, and we empower them, listen to them, and put them at the front of everything that we do. Partnerships, again speaking to the synergy that we have discussed here under our theme. Encouraging peace and unity. We all need a stable environment, and that is the only way that we can have development that is sustainable, when everybody at their personal level, at the community level, is working together with each other in peace and harmony. And another key core focus area for Shoko is climate action. A lot is said about climate action internationally and at very big international forums, but we want to bring this down to the ground for the communities that are suffering the most. And I will refer to the recent floods that we saw in Kenya. Those at the bottom, the grassroots, are the ones that suffer from climate change, which is caused by people who are not at that level. And so we do our best to push the climate action agenda as well, so that we can move away from such things as water scarcity, food insecurity, and health issues that come with the climate action problem. So we do have several interventions, and I will not speak to all of them. I would like to invite all of our chief guests and everyone here to visit our exhibition booth, which is out at the pavilion. We do have interventions of the top 10 sectors that were mentioned here by Caroline as she presented the report. We have interventions in sustainable livelihoods, financial services through our SACCO, health through our clinics and our community health promoters, education through our schools and our future education program, water, sanitation, and hygiene, which includes our innovative distribution of water in Kibera and other areas through aerial pipes. And I invite you to join us at our booth or to visit us in Kibera to see this aerial piping and distribution of water, which is really touching lives out there. Our gender and inclusion program has a focus on rescuing and supporting survivors of sexual and gender-based violence across the country. And we do have our libraries, which also help the communities and children who have to study. And finally, our Shoko Urban Network, I do see some of our members here. That is our driver, our community outreach program, membership-based, and through which we listen to the communities that we serve. As I conclude, I want to touch on very quickly the sustainable future element of our theme. And I think there's no better way to point out that we can do it in synergy and come up with solutions which are led by the grassroots and which can last for a long time, even beyond our lifetimes. There's no better way to highlight that we can do it together by just showing the numbers